Okay, this is module one, just navigating your TI Nspire. How do you get to stuff? How does this thing work? So the first thing you want to do is hit your on key on your calculator. Notice when I hit the on key here on the top right, the keyboard, it actually shows red. That means I hit that key. And so if you're having trouble following, that's a good way to see which key I hit. So when you hit the on key, the home screen, has a little home in the top left there. The home screen comes up. And you've got lots of different options here. So just to talk about the different options, let's go to new. So new, it's going to start a new document for you. In this case, I didn't have any document before, so I can just click whatever kind of page I want to add there. Let me go back here. So that's what new does, it starts a new document. If they say, do you want to save changes? Say no, don't save changes. Browse, probably won't use that much. That's where you might have some stored documents in there. You might have saved some documents. That's where they're found. It's kind of like your folders of your documents, like you might have on a computer. Current means you want to go back to the current document you've been working on. So I just was on a calculator page. So it's going to go back to that page from the home screen. It just navigates back to whatever page you were on. 5 is settings. The one you might use in there sometimes is document settings. You can change your settings on your document for these. I recommend just starting with the settings that are default. They're usually pretty good. There's certain times where you want to change it. If you go over here to on the left, this is called a scratch pad. And what a scratch pad does is it, no matter what page you're on, you could be on a graphing page or whatever, it's going to insert just a scratch pad. You can see I've been working on scratch pad before. It's going to do a page that you can do some calculations on, right? And it'll let you do the calculations right there, kind of on top of your document, so it doesn't affect your document. If you notice on the scratch pad, I keep hitting the home screen to come back. Never go to this graph. This is the scratch pad graph, and I don't like it for reasons of it doesn't have the full functionality, and you have to clear it off every time you use it rather than adding a graph page. So I do like the scratch pad for calculations, but I don't like it for the graphing. So I would recommend not using that. If I hit escape, I get out of the scratch pad. In this case, I go back to the home screen. If I want to go back to the current screen, that's the page 1.1. That's my first page of my document. It's a calculator screen, right? So again, if we want to do some calculations, it'll do calculations right there. I hit the home key. So now, just like your phone has apps, this has apps. So there's a couple ways to navigate. So you can use the up and down arrows or right and left arrows here on the scratch pad. Think of that like a touch pad on your computer, right? So it actually navigates a mouse. So you can actually use your mouse and kind of navigate your mouse around and click what you want. Click the middle if you want to choose something that way. You can also go up and down. It'll move your cursor up and down on the screen. You can also hit tab. So sometimes I like to navigate with tab. If I hit tab, it goes to the next cell and just keeps rotating. In this case, it goes to a calculator screen. That's what we just have up there. If I go to the second one here, so I'm going to the right here, it says add graphs. I'm going to add a graph. So now I get a graph page. And so I can add a function here, 2x plus 1. If I type that in and press enter, it should graph the line 2x plus 1. You might notice that my graph has graph paper on there. If you'd like to have that, go to menu. I think it's under view actually. There it is, grid. And I put mine to line grid. If you have no grid, it just won't have a grid there, which is fine. So I went menu to grid, and I went to line grid to get a line grid. I like the line grid there. I think it looks nice. It looks kind of like graph paper. You can see the slope of the line potentially, that kind of thing. We're not doing a lot of graphing in this module, but I just want to show you my favorite feature. It's the trace feature. So if you go menu, again, menu is where all the commands are located, and you go to trace. The first choice is graph trace. And what that does is you can go to the right or left, and when it hops over, it says, oh, the y-intercept. It tells you, hey, y-intercept is 0, 1 there. And it tells you the 0 of the graph. 0 is where it crosses the x-axis. It tells you that. If you want to remember a point, so you go, oh, I want to remember that 0, press enter, it lays down a point right there and puts the ordered pair down there for you, which is really a handy feature. So it tells you the significant points. You can also jump to a value. So if I want to type in 2 and press enter in trace mode, it jumps to that value and I can see what that value is there, which is very handy. One last thing in table and the graph is looking at the table. If you hit Control T, you can see there's the table. You can scroll up or down to the table and look at the values of the table. To turn that off is Control T as well. So table adds a table or it gets rid of the table as well. So that's your graph page. Hit the home key. Go to the next one. This is geometry. You can actually do geometry things in here just so you can see what I'm talking about. If you go to menu, I bet I can make a shape like a triangle maybe. Let me try and make a triangle. So if I click here, here, and here, kind of using my cursor, I made a triangle, and then we can do some measurements on that. We can measure the angles, I'm pretty sure. So measure the angle, let's try that. So if we go here, 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 I'm recreating that angle there, and you see that angle is 58 degrees. It's movable, so if you were to grab a point and move it, you could move that. How do I grab a point? If you hit escape first, hover over the point. So your cursor, it kind of has that icon right there. And then if you hit control center click like that, when you're hovering, it'll grab the point there and it'll actually grab and you can move the point and change that angle. It's movable. So there's lots of neat things you can do in there. You can create perpendicular bisectors, draw circles, all kinds of stuff in the geometry page. Let me go to the next one here on the right. This is the list and spreadsheet, kind of like this is similar to an Excel spreadsheet, so you can call it a name here, X list. Don't put any spaces there, Y list or something like that, whatever you want to call it really. You could put some points in there and do stuff with those points. We're going to learn more in another module maybe how to use the list and spreadsheet, but that can be really handy for graphing scatter plots or finding the mean or median, all those kinds of things, standard deviation of a group of points or data. Back to the home key. This is the data statistics page. This is great for like you can do, so if I choose X list there, I click there and then choose Y list here, it graphs a scatter plot of the data. Lots of neat things you can do with that, lines of best fit, etc. This is a notes page. You probably won't use it, kind of like Microsoft Word or something like that. You probably won't use that too much. And this is for if you have a temperature probe or distance, you've got different probes from Vernier if you're in a science class or even a math class, and you could measure the speed of something or the temperature of something and calculate that over time and so forth. And that's what that page is. So now you see I'm on page 1.7. Every time I added a page, it adds a page here. So to change pages or turn pages, if you see that blue icon right there, right to the left of the touchpad, control left arrow activates that blue icon. Now I just went to the previous page, 1.6, control left arrow. I go back to 1.5, control left arrow, 1.4. So if I go control left, I keep changing pages. If I go control right, it's going to go to the right. If you want to get a page thumbnail view of all the pages, control up arrow will do that for you. You can see I've got a bunch of pages here. Let's say I want to get rid of that Vernier page. If I hit delete here, it just gets rid of that page. If I want to delete that page, I can just hit delete. It'll get rid of pages for me. So I can delete as many pages as I want. You don't normally have to do that much, but you can if you want to. If you want to click on it twice, that'll bring you back to that page. And then now I just have 3 pages in my document now, 3 or 4 pages there. I want to show you the template key. This is kind of a couple things. So first in blue, if you see all these icons, like the little commands in blue, so like square root, I see it right above x squared. If I hit control x squared, that activates the square root in blue right above x squared. So anytime you want to activate a blue command, hit the control key first, and then it activates, you can access all those secondary commands there. By the way, if you want to type X, it's down there at the bottom. That is a handy variable to know. We use that quite a bit in math. Okay, template key is also important here. So I want you to see what the template key is. So if you hit the template key, so again, right next to number 9, so you see that I hit that red key there. That brings up all the templates. Lots of these are nice to use. You can do a fraction template, which is really handy there. If you hit template key, this one can be handy. It's, takes your number you just typed in to a power of something. Square root, this can be handy for cube roots. Very nice there. You can type in cube root if you hit this one. E to the power of log base. So if you need the log key, that's another way of getting there. These are for piecewise functions. I don't think you'll use those in algebra 2 when you're graphing. You can use piecewise functions. Just want to mention that they are available. Those are all different kinds of piecewise functions to some degree there. This one's really handy for algebra 1. It's the absolute value. So if you type in -3, press enter, it'll get the absolute value of that number. So this can be handy for matrices. If you're doing matrices, you can type a matrix right on the screen. That's a customizable matrix there. These are mostly more for calculus, so derivatives and integrals, and some sequence things there and limits. So lots of those kinds of things, which you probably won't use for a while. Hit escape to get out of that tool. Catalog you probably won't use much, but if you know a command and you're like, I know there's a command there. Let's say I type in M and scroll down to, oh, there's a median command. So I could find a median of a list of numbers. To type in a list, you would have to hit, I think it's control, close parentheses there. And now if I typed in a list like 1, 2, 5, 7, 9, it'll find the median, which is 5 in order. It's kind of easy to do, but it finds that for you. So it's got all kinds of commands in there. If you forget where the commands are, you can hit the catalog key. Multiply, divide. Just be careful. -3, -5. So I don't know if you noticed, but those are different keys. So -3 is, this key is negative. Subtraction is this one, and they are different. So if you tried to, let's just see what happened. If I did -3, -5, I think Nspire's smart enough to figure, oh no, you see what it did? I typed in minus, so it thought I wanted to take the previous answer and subtract 3. So you do have to know kind of which key to hit there. So the negative is the key right below 3, and the minus sign is 2 to the right of 3 there. Trig is really handy here. So if you hit the trig key, you can you actually have 6 different trig identities there, and trig functions there, and then you have all the inverse functions. So those are the inverse functions as well. And so you can take the sine of a number. In fact, one thing that's kind of handy is, say we want to take the sine of 30. You may not realize this, but this is in radian mode here. If I say sine of 30, by the way, to get a decimal, if you hit Control Enter, that will convert your exact number to an approximate number, a decimal. And that's not what I think of the sine of 30. A sine of 30 degrees is not negative there in this case. So to change the mode here, if you hover over the word rad there, which stands for radian, and just click, I clicked on the touchpad there, and it says now degree. Now if I want to have that command, and by the way, to copy and paste, if you mouse up 2 clicks and press enter, and then press enter, it will calculate the sine of 30, which is, by the way, 1/2, which is very handy. If you want to convert that to a decimal, which is, again, something you might want to do, Control Enter gives you a decimal, it gives you the approximation. But if you want to convert it back to a fraction, hit Menu, go to Number, and I think there's something called Approximate to Fraction. So convert to decimal, approximate to fraction, that's very handy. There you can convert back. So the template's really nice for doing that. Okay, and I think that is the basics. One more thing, to add a page, again, you could add a graphing page here if you wanted to. What I would do is go to the bottom there to add a graphing page, and there you go. That's your graphing page. If you want to add a calculator page or add a page to that. Another way to do it, right above the doc in blue, it says plus page, Control Doc, it says plus page, and now you can add a calculator page to that. Again, to change pages, you can hit Control left arrow, or if you prefer, up at the top here, you can actually click on those at the top, and it changes from page to page. So that can be a handy way to change pages as well. That's the way pages work, and navigating the document, just some basics on each page. The next module will go a little bit more in depth into the calculator page.